Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Torah Rabbanan. We're 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Mem Beis on Beis. Torah Rabbanan. Tchelas ein labdika. Rabbi Isai, if you have a blue string, you find blue strings in the middle of the street, are you allowed to use them? So the Gemara in the Havamina says, ein labdika. There's no test to see if it's kali ilan, if it's the fake thing, or if it's the real thing. V'nikachas elo min hamumcha. And therefore, you can only purchase tchelas from a professional to make sure it's not the kali ilan, it's not indigo. Tefillin yesh lohem b'dika. Tefillin you could check, you could tell. The b'dika is for chaseris and yiseris. You look inside, you see the extra words, extra letters. I'm going to show you now a taisvus that you've never seen before in your life. You'll never see it again. Tefillin yesh lohem b'dika. Pirush b'kondrus b'chaseris v'yiseris v'afilu hachi enikachem elam min armucha lav nishma asfar mezuzas lebai ibad l'shma. V'chein pirush harav Reb Moshe bar Maimon. It's the only time in Shas, basically, maybe one other time in Shabbos, that he brings the Rambam. Places bring the Rambam. Okay, so look at it, remember it. Since, as we're going to see, and the same thing is going to happen with the tchelas basically, but since tefillin need, one of the elements in tefillin, there's something that you can see physically, and there's something that you cannot tell. Even with a computer scan can't see what? Can't see whether or not if you had kavana l'shma. Tefillin yesh l'hem b'dika, you could check for missing letters on a computer. Nevertheless, you have to buy it from a professional because the batim, everything has to be made l'shma. Svarim, when it comes to Sefer Torah or mezuzos and mezuzos yesh l'hem b'dika, you could check to see if there's any letters missing. Since they don't require, says Rashi, ibud l'shma, you don't have to make the klaf l'shma, so you can buy it from anybody. Ask the Gemara, tchelas and labdika. What are you talking about? There's no test for tchelas. But Rav Yitzchak b'reder Rav Yehuda badiklei simen b'geshem. He had, if you want to remember the way he did it, just remember the word geshem. There is a way. Maisi megabia gila. You take some alum. Umaya d'shavluluta. You take some fenugreek juice. And you take urine, that is 40 days old, according to Rashi, it can be fermented. No, that's one shot. From a baby that's 40 days old. But basically, it's 40 days old because the longer it stays, the more potent it becomes, the more ammonia, I don't know what it is, a different chemical. And you leave it in this mixture from the night to the morning. If the tchelas comes off, it starts becoming weak, then you know that it's not real tchelas, it's kali ilan. They showed us in the tchelas, they took real indigo.
Which is which?
And the tchelas, you cannot differentiate the two colors. You put side by side, a lot.
One of them is kali ilan.
It's not, it's the same exact look. Lo yipart chazusei kshera. And if it stays the same color, then it's kosher. Ravad kamei, the Rav Shmei, the Rav Avira Omar, maisi chamira arkis of the sare. You take this hard yeast, like a starter, barley starter. You take the tchelas, you put it inside and you bake it. If it changes for the better, becomes darker, blue, whatever it is, then it's kosher. How do you remember? Shinui sheker, shinui emes. If a person says a lie and he adds a little bit of a lie to it, it makes it worse. If you add to the good, it makes it better. Okay, so basically we have two simanim here. We have the alum, the meraglayim, and then you have putting into the yeast. The question is, you told me that there's no way to check tchelas. There's no way. Here we have two tests, not one. Says the Gemara, no, you didn't understand. We're not looking to see if the tchelas can come off. We're talking about the kavana part, the stuff that has to do with people's mind. There's no way to check that. That you can never check. What does that mean? How does it apply to tchelas? When you dip that the tzemer, you dip the wool into that dye. So two things happen. First of all, you can't use the actual wool for tzitzis, and also you can't use the dye anymore. Both of them are no good. They're both te'ima. The actual tzitzis is possible. Why? Because you didn't have kavana for tzitzis. You had kavana to check it to see if it's the right color. So that I'm scared that somebody might pass it off. If you found some strings in the street, maybe somebody took it from the teima strings, and those are possible. Or they came from the second dye, the marasheni dye. Marasheni is no good. And that's what it means. There's no checking. Yeah, you can check if it's kali ilam versus tchelis, but you can't check if the tchelis was made with the proper kavanah. Says the Gemara, Mar mimashki, Mar who came from Mashki, Aisi tchelto b'shnei Rav Achoy. He brought tchelis from in the years of Rav Achoy. B'shnei Rav Achoy batku b'the Rav Yitzchok b'rei Rav Yehuda. Did a test. What's Rav Yitzchok b'rei Yehuda's test? The Meiraglayim test. Bipared chazusa. So on test number 1, it failed immediately. The color diminished. And then they did a test number 2. With the Rav Ada, the yeast test, Vishtari L'mal Yusam, became even better. There was a contradiction in the test. In one test, it, how do you say in English? It became, it faded, thank you, it faded. And then the second test, the reverse happened. It got stronger. So they wanted to say, look, you didn't pass the first test, you're out. So Rav Chai says, we have a contradiction. So there's only 2 options, either it's tchelis or kol ilan. There's no third option in those days. So what is it? These 2 tests go in conjunction, they go together. First you perform test number 1. If you fail test number 1, if it's good, it's great. You don't have to do test number 2. But if it fails test number 1, then you could do test number 2. And what happens? In other words, test number 1 is not a perfect science. If it fades on test number 1, you still have a chance to use test number 2. And if it becomes better with the yeast, then you know that it's still kosher. And Shalchim Matan, they said in Eretz Yisrael, these 2 tests go together. It's a double test. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Mani, Daik, V'zavin, Kichumir Masniyasa. He would buy, based on the Brisa, that we have to understand that any tchelis that was used as a sample, like they did in Tilt Chelet, all that stuff that he dunked into I thought it was fascinating. I asked him to give me some of that secret sauce, that we could use it, maybe in brachas, whatever. You put white wool in, you pull it out, it stays white. All of a sudden, in front of your eyes, it starts changing to blue. It's really cool. So trying that as a, if I'm showing the shear, I cannot use that as tchelis, because I didn't have kavanah of l'shem mitzvahs tchelis. So Mela, he was makbet to buy it from a mumcha. I wonder if this is Eliyahu Navi again, because this line is tremendous. This is a line that you could read this line and just go weiter, and you can read this line and pause here for a second. Hachi ovid kamoy de kamach. This is what the generations before you and before you did. Va'atzlach iskayu. It's like Haftacha from Eliyahu Navi maybe, that when you act like a mensch, you do the right things, you makbid on halacha, atzlach iskayu. You'll have atzlacha. They're connected. The 2 things are connected. The way we act. If somebody goes ahead and he buys tzitzis from the marketplace, if somebody buys a talis that has tzitzis on it in the market, if you buy it from a Jew, you should know that it's good. It was done l'shma. From a guy, it depends. Nobody in the right mind today would do this, but imagine you buy from an Arab, those guys that sells those birds, those tchotchkes, the things that go like this and like that around the thing. You know what I'm talking about? The balloons that he also sells tzitzis, a talis. If you buy from an individual, you should know it's possible. If you buy from a guy that's his job to sell, it's going to be kosher. Why? Because he doesn't want to ruin his name. You can be soymach on him. We have a problem here. You have to undo all the tzitzis. My timer. So second pshat in Rashi, relax. Second pshat in Rashi is that if a guy will buy a talis, he'll give it to the Zayin as payment, and she'll take it, and she'll use it to make up some story about a Jew. And that's a problem. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shemi Yislavi Imoy B'derech V'Yargenu. He will pretend that he's Jewish. He'll wear a talis. We know with Nachshon Waxman, the three Bacharim, different stories that they went into the car because they saw like a Tehillim on the dashboard. The guy, or music, different things. Rabbi Yehuda put on tchelis on his wife's clothing. Rabbi on his wife's clothing. So let's stop, think, analyze. What does it mean? Why would you put tzitzis on your wife's clothing? A woman doesn't have to put on tzitzis only if she doesn't have to wear tzitzis at night. And then it becomes a mitzvah asesha as a mangrama. If it's a mitzvah that you only do certain times of the day, women are potter. But if a woman has to wear, if tzitzis is something that you wear 24/7, 365, so it's not a mitzvah asesha as mangrama. Then it's a regular mitzvah like everything else, and a woman is chayiv. And therefore, he put tzitzis on his wife's clothing because he holds that tzitzis is something that you wear all the time. The problem is the next line. Umevarech kol tzafra l'sativ b'tzitzis. And every morning, he would make a bracha l'sativ b'tzitzis. The problem is, why would he make a bracha every morning? If it's 24/7, 365, make a bracha once in your life, and that's it. You're done. Midrami, says the Gemara, since he put the tzitzis on his wife's clothing, obviously it's a mitzvah that doesn't have to do with time. If so, so then why would he make a bracha every morning? Says the Gemara, what do you mean? We do the same thing with tefillin, kirebi. This is tefillin because manchim menichon mevarach aleim divrei Rebbe. Now tefillin you don't wear on Shabbos, so you can say, okay, it says as my grandma at certain times. But here's a raya that even during the day you're supposed to wear tefillin all day long. So you can make 100 brachas on tefillin. You take it off when you go to the bathroom, for instance. There's certain times it makes a big hefsek. The bathroom creates a hefsek. You're not allowed to wear tefillin in certain situations in the bathroom, right? G'daylim, you can't wear. So that creates a break. And when you put your tefillin on again, you have to make a bracha. What about when you take off your talis and you go to the bathroom? So that, even though the Shulchan Aruch says you should make it, but he brings the Yeshayim, we pass in the Ashkenazim, at least I don't know what the Sfardim do. It seems like Sfardim also. Since it's not a real hefsek, because you could technically wear your talis in the bathroom. You're not supposed to bring a beged of tefillah into the bathroom. So that's why a lot of people take off the kittel when they go into the bathroom. But it's not like a chiyuv. So it doesn't make a stop. It doesn't make a break. That's on talis, unless you take it off for a long time or whatever. You make it.
Also, because you're also still wearing your talis cut.
Okay, yeah, not a real break. Akol panim, you see that on tefillin you make a bracha. Every time you take it off, so too. Yihachi kol shatanami. So why did he make it in the morning? It should say that he made a bracha on his tzitzis 5 times a day. Rav Yehuda inish tzniyav. It's because Rav Yehuda he's very tzenua. You wouldn't take off his garment the entire day. So then why? So this is a beautiful Rashi. To understand the Gemara's question, you have to see this Rashi. I just like this thing. Says Rashi, he should make the bracha when? He obviously woke up to learn Torah way before the morning. Ask the Gemara, so why did he make a bracha then? 2 hours before sunrise, 3 hours, who knows when? Bashmoiris. Ligirse, you hear this? They used to wake up to learn Torah in the morning. Says the Gemara, he made it when he changed from his pajamas, PJs into his clothing. When was that? That was during the daytime. He waited always. That's when he made the switch. He didn't put on his clothes when he woke up in the middle of the night. When the sun came out, then he put on his day clothes, and that's when he made his bracha. Once a day. This is a super interesting line here. You're going to have a lot of questions. Immediately, the Gemara is going to address them. Everybody's chayav in tzitzis. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim, which the question is, of course. Who else is there? There's nobody else in Klal Yisrael besides Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim. Gerim, even a ger, Noshim v'avadim. Here it says a woman and a slave. Reb Shimon, Poiter ben Noshim, V'nei Shem, Mitzvah Seish, Zman Gromu. Women are parted because the Mitzvah Seish, Zman Gromu. Chom Mitzvah Seish, Zman Gromu, Noshim P'turais. They're parted from it. Like a shofar, lulav, sukkah, omamar. Hakol chayom b'tzitzis, kohanim levim Yisrael pshita, asked the Gemara. The kohanim levim Yisrael p'tiri, there's only 3 categories in Klal Yisrael, kohanim levim Yisraelim, If they're potter, man l'chayev will be chayev. Says the Gemara, you're right. Kohanim tzricha leid the chiddush in the kohen. That even a kohen is chayev in tzitzis. That had a havamina. That what? So kedai the chamina hoyel ksiv l'sil b'shatins temur pishim yachtav. Balpeh. Since a kohen in certain situations doesn't have to be makbid on shatnez, and the Torah connects shatnez with tzitzis, so I think somebody that doesn't have the halachas of shatnez doesn't have to wear tzitzis. Mandalay ishtri klaim l'gabei b'levishu with the mechayev tzitzis. Hana kohanim these kohanim hoyel v'ishtri klaim l'gabayu. There's a certain head of klayim when they wear their bigdei kuna, which beged in particular, the avneit. This week's parasha. It's not so pashut that it's only during the Rishonim talk about it. Maybe even after. The Gemara is going to say in a second. Says Gemara, but during the avodah, says the Gemara, that's when it's mutter. After the avodah, not. I'm just saying the Rishonim say doesn't mean avodah mamish, or they're allowed to walk around in the Beis Hamikdash with it, etc. Okay, but the point is, it's not always mutter them. It's a special heter that they have while they do the avodah, and therefore they are chayiv b'tzitzis. Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon pointed b'noshim. My time, the Reb Shimon. How come Reb Shimon says women are not chayiv? It says the sanyu risim oisoi prat l'ksus laila. Since it says risim oisoi, you have to see it. So something a beged in those days, they didn't have fluorescent lights, LEDs. They didn't have lights. You couldn't see. You can't see your potter. So then becomes a mitzvah asay shazman grama. It's dependent on time. Women are potter. Atoimer prad l'ksus laila oyeno elo prad l'ksus suma. Or perhaps urisim oisei means you have to see it. So if a blind person can't see, he's potter. No. Shoymer shet chasaba harik susuma amor homani mikayim urisim oisei. And so shet chasaba means any type of clothing that you cover yourself. So why did it say reason? Why say products is coming to exclude a night garment? Again, night garment can doesn't mean that you're wearing a day garment during the night, or it means a night garment like PJs. Could mean both. We have two things that we could deduct. We could take off the blind person's clothing or the night clothing. Who told you what to take off? Because everybody else could see it, so it's not in the reason. It makes more sense to take off the night garment because no one can see it. Rabbanan say that at night you are chayiv in tzitzis. What do they do? Rabbi said we're going to get to real agata in a second. Just hold on tight. This is stuff that we did already actually, and it's simple. It says four corners. It means to exclude if you have a three-cornered garment, you're not chayiv in tzitzis. But there's another option. 4 could also mean that if you have 5, you're potter. Who told you which one to take off? Maybe it's coming to exclude a 5-cornered garment, but a 3-cornered garment would be chayav tzitzis. Means every garment. That includes the 5. The obvious question: why? It says 4. You could exclude 5. You could exclude 3. Who told you which one to exclude? Tell you why. Very simple. Because a 5-cornered garment also has 4 corners in it. To get to 5, you have to do 4. Fine. In a 3-cornered garment doesn't have 4 corners in it, so therefore it makes sense to get rid of it. Reb Shimon, Masher Nafka. Okay, he uses the Asher, they don't like the Asher. If you chayav at night, so why does it say Risa Moisa? You have to see it. Look at the sanya. Risa Moisa is chartim. So this is very important. That's it. Here's the agadata. Why do we wear tzitzis? Risa Moisa. You look at it, uzchartim, and then you remember. Rei mitzvah zu uzchar mitzvah acheres atliyaba. Look at the tzitzis, and then you'll remember something that's dependent on it. Veizazu zu kriyishma. Kriyishma is connected to tzitzis. This not me. Masa kriyishma b'shachres in the beginning of brachas. Mishyagim in tchelas l'lavin. Mamish, that's what he did. He pulled the white wool out of the dye, and it was white, and suddenly part of it changed to blue, and then he said, look, there's white and blue. You have to see the difference. No light, you can't tell the difference between blue, the light blue and white. There's another one, another bride that says, you see these tzitzis, uzchartim. Rei mitzvah zu, uschor mitzvah acheres, asmuchala. What are you supposed to remember? Not something that's dependent on it, but something that's next to it. Veiz zu mitzvah's climb to remember about the isur shatnez. Also, to remember that in tzitzis there is no shatnez. The chsiv, l'yisil ba shatnez semur pishim yachtov, dilum tasalach. And right away it says, right after Shana, it says you should make tzitzis. Tanya doch. U'rizim oiso yuzchartem is kol mitzvahs Hashem. You should remember all Hashem's mitzvahs. Ki im shenischayev adam mitzvah zu, nischayev b'chol mitzvahs kulon. The second Shana Rashi. Again, the second Shana. When a person becomes bar mitzvah, then he's chayev in all the mitzvahs. One of the first mitzvahs he does in the morning is he puts on his tzitzis. That's when he becomes chayev in all the mitzvahs. Verb Shimoni, the Omar mitzvah say shazman grami. Shimon says mitzvah say shazman grama. Tanya yidoch u'risam oiso yizchartem is kol mitzvahs Hashem. Shkula mitzvah zu, connected kol mitzvahs kulon. This we said a few times already. The tzitzis is tzaddik yud means is 100. Tzaddik yud is 100 plus the tuf is 400, 600. The 5 knots and the 8 strings, 6, 13. The Tanya yidoch. U'risam oiso yizchartem is kol mitzvahs Hashem. Shkula mitzvah zu, connected kol mitzvahs kulon. This mitzvah of tzitzis is equal to all the mitzvahs. Tanya yidoch. U'risam oiso yizchartem batzisam. Re'iyah meviyah l'dei zechira, zechira meviyah l'dei asiyah. Human nature is when you see something, it reminds you of something. And when it reminds you of something, you do something. When you're exceptional at this mitzvah, you do it. I don't know how to translate zar so well. You do it quickly, you do it properly. Then you zoicha and you see the Shechina, the Rebbeinu Shleilam. Same lashon. So you see that Urisim Oisai, the Shechina Kaviyachol. Tana Rabbanan. Chavivin Yisrael Shasivim HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'mitzvahs. Look at this. Hashem loves us, and He gave us mitzvahs to surround us, to protect us, to watch over us. Tefillin b'Rishaim, u'tefillin b'Zrei. So how many is that? 2. Tefillin on our head and our hand. That's 2. V'tzitzis b'Bigdayim. How much is that? Another 4, says Rashi. Even though we pass in already, Reb Shmuel says it's 4 mitzvahs. But we said, Chacham say it's 1 mitzvah. But nevertheless, it's 4 physical things that surround us. So total 6. And then you have a 7th, the mezuzah on the door. That's why David Amel said 7 things I have to give you shvach v'yidayah. When David Amel was in the bathhouse, he didn't have his tefillin on. He didn't have his tzitzis on. Omar oili she'emod arum b'loy mitzvah. How can I stand there without any mitzvahs? We walk around with the bris milah. That's one of the things that protects us. So he was okay. He went from 7 to 8. What's 8? Mizmor David. Ala Milah shenidla b'shmini. He was referring to the 8th day of the Milah. It provides a shmir that you shouldn't sin. But you have to have these tefillin on your hands. One day, Be'ez Hashem, soon, when Mashiach comes, we'll all be wearing tefillin all day long. Hashem will save you when you have all these things around you. Why does Hashem pick blue? The famous Gemara, we mentioned it. It reminds us of the ocean. And the ocean reminds us of the heaven. And the heaven reminds us of the Kisei HaKavod. The guys from Mishkan Tchelah gave me this. Evan Sapir is similar to the color of Tchelas. This is what the luchas were made out of. Evan Sapir, this is what the sapphire. That says that the Kisei HaKavod, that describes the Kisei HaKavod from Sapir. Uchsiv Kemar Evan Sapir Dmus Kisei. Tanya, Hoyer Me'oimer, Godel Anshe Shalav and Yosim Anshe Shaltchez. The Gemara is saying a Moir Digisai there. The easier the mitzvah, the bigger the einish is. So it's much easier to get white than the blue. So you get a bigger aver, a bigger einish for not taking care of the white sisters. Why don't you do white? Blue, okay. I didn't see this. I'm doing this the first time with you.
You should fetch me a signet ring made of pure gold. And you, my lad, should fetch me a clay signet ring.
They both didn't bring it. What happened? I don't know. I'm just going to see this yet. I don't know how long it is. It might be going into... But they both didn't bring it at them. Who gets a bigger punishment? They got drunk in the bar. They came late. Okay, I got it. Now I got it. Who has a bigger punishment? The one that was supposed to bring the simpler one, the easy one to fetch.
All I told you to do was get me a simple clay ring, and you failed?
Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.